Yeah, I mean the difficulty with the hero like AA at least. I mean you can understand that the hero can kind of play as a mid laner just because he's a strong laner, right? But the issue with this hero is he has no way of killing creeps, and generally these heroes that can't kill creeps at all, they have a difficult time scaling because they're so reliant on playing around kills.
Yeah, I think that's why the one earlier today went for a Midas. And it's like at that stage,
Hmm.
it's like, well, that's great, but you're a mid that isn't going for a Midas because you're one up on your opponent. You're going for a Midas because you need a Midas.
Yeah, and seems to be kind of becoming sort of a classic lane. This Darkseer Tiny here, we saw it yesterday. I think it was Illusion played the Tiny there, and who was it on the Darkseer? That was it?
From yesterday. Oh, I feel bad now.
Yeah, I feel
Because
bad for not
Illusion kind
remembering.
of outshone
I
everyone,
think
right?
that's probably why. Yeah, you don't remember the Darkseer performance because
No one
the
remembers the
Tiny
Darks here.
performance was so strong.
It's always been that hero. It's like every offlaner has to learn how to play it. It's super strong, but then the flashy stuff comes from whoever gets Surged or whoever gets the Iron Shell. Is it
Yeah, I mean,
me or is Cyber Legacy literally just like have they googled top 10 most popular heroes right now and they're just clicking them?
yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like it. This seems like a very kind of current lineup. Um, and yeah, the lane is also it's not a bad lane. You don't. It's not really the strongest lane. Like I think a lot of heroes can kind of just farm against it, uh, against the tiny Darkseid lane. I think the thing is, it just gives you so much. It gives you a lot of team fight, and it gives Tiny a lot of plays early on, even before he gets this blink dagger. He can play around with the surge and with the iron shell.
I mean, I'm kind of interested to see what Omega Lil are gonna like have coming in because I think when we look at this game on paper, people will be siding with Cyber Legacy, but there is someone actually we do have to keep in mind, right? Lil is back from the beach. He is on the team.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, he's back. He's returned.
but I think statistics do support that whenever Lil is substituted out,
Oof.
Omega Lil does better. And Cyber Legacy, they keep
Call
relying
it.
on those top heroes.
Call it. Go next. You
I knew you
can't.
were going to wait for the POS
You
1
can't.
comparison. You're like, oh,
You just
done.
can't. You cannot. You cannot. One does not simply defeat the Kuman Terrorblade. That's just how it goes.
Yo, should we start checking off a list? I feel like over the last few weeks, we've gone through quite a few. It's like Void was the most obvious one, I think, that came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
PL, we were kind of like, flip the
Eh,
coin.
eh.
Like, but his Terror Blade, that's his illusion mastery,
Terrorblade.
okay?
Yeah, yeah. That's where it's at. I mean, the Kuman Terrorblade. The viewers, they're in for a treat here.
Wait. Megalol, they can still pull us back to get the final pick. Here's what you do. You pick Drow Ranger, then realize it's not a good game to be Drow Ranger. Drow Ranger dies 100 times, but you had the idea that it counted Terrorblade and it should have been okay.
Oof. Oof. And
Sorry, I may have
maybe,
spoiled the ending of that story.
it might happen. It just might.
I mean, it's not impossible for Sven to win here, but I already see this issue where Sven has to be like an item and a half ahead of the Terrorblade.
I think they need some sort of I mean, I would like to see some. The last core. I'm not sure if this is gonna be. I'm assuming it's gonna be just a mid Void Spirit, and
Likely.
that they're looking for a position 3 here, something to play up against the Terrorblade. And if you find something that can scale kind of decently as well as, like do well against the Terrorblade in lane, I think then you might have some chances here. But I think the Sven alone, like relying on him to carry this game, it's very difficult playing into this Terrorblade for Sven, like a hero with such high armor when you rely solely on your physical damage.
Yeah. And the issue I see for like a Megalo right now at this stage in the draft is like when you compare these two, I think there's like a giant gap in certain things like maybe the ability to take towers, for example, from Megalo. Whereas Cyber Legacy, even by the fourth pick, they've kind of got it all ticked, right? They can take towers, they can shove lanes, they can take team fights.
Yeah, and I think team fights is actually the kind of the main difference here, I would say. Just if you look at how much, just the Phoenix and Darkseer, they give you so much team fight. These two heroes.
Mm-hmm. Whereas when I'm looking at Omega Lulz, I'm seeing this Grimstroke and I'm seeing this Rubik. I'm like, okay, if you pop off straight away, I can kind of see it like there's these lane dominators. But if they fall behind, what happens?
Yeah, I mean they definitely have a lot of disables on the side of a Megalil. What I see is just like Terrorblade with a BKB to me looks like a kind of a boss a boss of this game, kind of.
Goddamn TB nerd. It's hard not to focus on that hero though right now. I feel like whenever we see it, yeah, it's always been this kind of polarizing hero. When he's in the meta, he defines the meta, I feel like, most times. And then other times it's just like, oh no, he's just a piece of plastic no one wants to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, just what a hero, like you use meta, and all of a sudden you go from this useless melee piece of shit to just this, this the big beast that TB is once he uses meta.
And
And
you know what the real
yeah, I
counter
mean,
to TB is you have a Darkseer on your team and you surge everyone away from the TB when he presses his button.
oof,
But you don't have that here.
no, you
You're
do
stuck.
not. And now there is also a Slardar on the board here, and
Probably
this
plus
is
4.
yeah,
Wait,
I'm thinking this is maybe a position 3 Slardar. Maybe they're putting Tiny in the mid lane here. They're kind of anticipating Void Spirit to go mid. And
what
so
about
they're
the
just gonna
Darkseer
put
then?
Maybe the dark. I don't know
Because you
actually.
said pulse. I imagine Darkseer, like that feels like Darkseer
Maybe
and TB are
maybe
the ones
maybe
that
it
stay
is
stable,
maybe it's
right?
like a Slardar mid or something.
I could kind of get behind that. Like against the Void Spirit, I could see that being
Yeah,
pretty damn effective, actually.
yeah. And I was considering this Necrophos a little bit earlier. The one thing though is that like playing Necrophos into both, I think Darkseer and Phoenix, especially Phoenix, I want to say is very scared. They have no way of dealing with this egg right now. Okay, so it's gonna be an offlane Slardar, and it is gonna be the mid Tiny, and Darkseer will be played as a position 4 in this scenario.
Okay,
I,
I'm
I'm okay with
surprised by
that.
that. Yeah, I thought maybe they'd go with like the slot up mid you were suggesting, or like,
Mm-hmm.
and then run the darks or tiny right in the mid, and then you can run slot on the 4 sort of thing.
Yeah. So the one awkward thing here, I think, is you're very heavily here. I say like reliant on this Tiny to make a lot of the plays here. Slardar won't be able to do that much before he gets his Blink Dagger. And I mean, Darkseer and Phoenix, they're not supports that do things, They supplement some heroes, right? Phoenix, he kind of sits in lane, like they don't do things on their own, basically. So you're heavily relying on your cores here to play the game for you, to make the plays. Whereas on the side of Omglil, you have so many ways of making plays, Grimstroke, Rubik, Void Spirit, and Sven, they can all do things on their own. Or help other people do things. So
But this is why it's a team game, Pycat. Okay, you need to take a moment where you can rely on your teammate, and then as an individual player, if they don't follow through with their piece, you have a scapegoat.
yeah, it's just that in general, I think you don't really wanna you don't want to tie up your cores to having to do things in the game, such as like constantly making plays, right?
Yeah.
You want the gameplay to be kind of fluent. You want the cores to be kind of able to just freely play the game without having this forced idea of the fact that like, okay, this Tiny, he's the guy who has to make things happen. But that also depends on kind of how the lanes go here, and I think Sven should do rather well in his lane. He should just be able to kind of push the lane, and it's gonna be Sven Grimstroke. I think they should just be able to push the lane, and that's gonna be that kind of. He should be able to just free farm. Slaughter should get kind of what he wants also. It is the kind of the Necrophos versus the Necrophos Rubik versus Phoenix TV here that can get a little bit dicey for the Terrorblade once meta is not up.
Yeah, it feels like this is the type of lane where you easily lose in a war of attrition, right? Because obviously you got the sustain from the Necrophos, they've got a lot of magical damage, and you're a TB being propped up by a Phoenix, which in the early levels isn't too impressive from the sustain point of view. Like later on in the game, some rate great, but on the lane, you know you're never going to get those heals.
Yeah, Phoenix not one of the stronger, position fives in terms of laning. Yes, you do have the Fire Spirits, and I think this is actually one of those lanes where Fire Spirits are actually very good, just because of how slow Necrophos as a hero is. It's very easy to hit the Fire Spirits onto Necrophos. I think his turn rate is also pretty bad, so not the easiest to dodge with that hero.
There's the moment where you just submit, you're always going to get hit by them, and just use your Death Pulse to farm.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's good at least that you have a tool to kind of offset the Fire Spirits.
Yeah, and the other thing is obviously in the early levels of Fire Spirits, like if you're playing the 5 role, you want to be shifted away from the lane more. You want to give TB more space, which means you're not going to get Fire Spirits leveled up as quickly, which means there's bigger windows where the pressure isn't on to the Necrophos and Rubik.
Okay, let's see here. Looks like Sunlight is gonna cut these trees and probably place this ward here. Yeah, I think both mids kind of like they're gonna be the playmakers here. We've seen a lot of Void Spirit mid recently. I feel just a lot of Void Spirit in general. And this hero has. I mean, yesterday we saw what was the stand-in called again? Lorenov.
Yeah, Lorenov, who
Lorenov.
completely obliterated the opponents.
He popped off on that Void Spirit.
Yeah, I think he
I
had
think
one death by
he
the
was
end of like 18
10-0.
kills.
I think he was 10-0 at the 13-minute mark.
Yeah, I think he got up to, it was either 11 or 13 kills before he got killed in a chrono. But the way they played that game was like, oh, there's a chrono? Is that meant to scare us? And that's kind of the confidence you can play with Void Spirit as a hero anyway, right? Because you have this damage absorption, the Resonant Pulse, you have 2 mobility spells, and like your stat gain is pretty reasonable as well.
Yes.
It's also it's interesting you brought up, like, we've been seeing in the mid. I think you're right. It seems like there's been a shift towards the mid lane, because the difference between having a Void Spirit in the 3 or the 4 and having it in the 2 is like you reach your item timings, your level timings, in a way that you can take over the game, I feel like. Whereas in a 3-4 role, sometimes you just end up kind of falling by the wayside and being ignored completely in team fights.
Yeah, I mean the hero definitely scales kind of well with items. We're not really seeing these like we used to see, or like there was a time when you'd see these Deso Void Spirits and etc. Now it's more kind of the Yules, Ags, etc. The silencing, making plays that way kind of Void Spirit.
I think we were saying, I think we sometimes still see the Orchids instead. It just depends on whether there's a lot of Ags targets, right? So like, there's a lot of people that benefit from being silenced from your perspective. Put in the extra gold, get that AoE silence.
The scary thing that I see here is just that the Omglil, they have a lot of magical damage. And I'm not sure that they have enough physical damage to be able to kill this Terrorblade once he gets BKB, or really like any of the what, CL. What does it stand for?
Cyber Legacy.
Cyber Legacy heroes.
Which, considering they're having disconnection issues right now, they might be more Cyber Legacy. Hopefully, Bignum gets back soon.
Yes.
Hey, there we are. Just as I said, the man arrives. I'm kind of excited to see what he's going to do with the Darkseer 4. Okay, you might have heard sarcasm in my voice because I kind of already know what a Darkseer 4 is going to do. He's going to Iron Shell, and then Iron Shell.
Don't forget Surge too.
No, he hasn't got level 2 yet in this description. And then he's going to Surge Iron Shell to the creep camp because he's given up on Blizzy and wants to become a core.
Just 30 seconds now.
Okay, so
It kind of is one of those 4s, right? Like, it's that type of 4 that looks for space to just greedily become a core itself. I'm interested to see if Magical is going to be able to fare well in this mid lane, though. I think that's maybe my big concern, is whether you can put enough pressure onto the Void Spirit.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I feel like I think Void Spirit should just be, he should be able to just farm here. He has good. They both have pretty much the same base damage, 65 to 64. They have Quelling Blades. Void Spirit has a much better attack rate than Tiny does, but Tiny obviously has the extra tree.
He has a
extra
giant
damage here.
sword, is what you're trying to get at. Like, you didn't want to make it so simple, but it's not really serving him well so far on the first wave.
Wow,
Especially
what a
seeing as
nice,
they made this hero less cheesy these days.
what a nice freaking sword that guy has.
It is a pretty magnificent sword. It's too bad that he invested all of his money in a sword and had none left for armor.
I was gonna say wolves need no armor, but Tiny's obviously not a wolf. But
It depends how
I guess,
overdue you
I
are
guess,
for an optician.
I guess Tiny needs no armor? Question mark.
Tiny needs a tiny bit of armor. That's why he's happy under his tower. Where he
The
gets
Kerr had not enough armor to survive that tree throw, so Sunlight's Kerr goes down, and he does not get his regen delivered to him.
Okay, but hear me out. You're a Void Spirit. It won't
Yes.
matter. In a minute's time, you'll still be alive. Your CS will be fine. Because this hero is balanced and reasonable.
Yeah, I feel like this mid lane, they're just gonna trade farm, and after that they're gonna rotate more than like. It's more likely, I would say, that Void Spirit has an easier time rotating early on, just because he gets some reach with the Astral Step, whereas Tiny, you kind of want to wait for getting your blink or whatever it is that you're going for.
Yeah, you have some ganking potential, right? If you like connect with the Darkseer because you have the Surge running.
Yes, exactly.
But I do feel like he's going to be a bit more greedy with his build, considering he did start with point in the tree grab. So I'm not sure if he's going to go for the max Avatar straight away. Which I wonder if that's like... I feel like that might work in this game, actually, because you have the Corrosive Haze, right? You just go for that kind of right-click Tiny we were seeing a few months back that doesn't care about anyone. Just hits buildings and hits whoever walks near him.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of playing as a right-clicking Tiny, it's okay, I think. The one thing is that, Cyber Legacy don't have that many playmakers, and so you kind of want this Tiny to be able to be that guy who is making plays.
That's true. I guess it's going to be interesting to see if they kind of bait themselves with this idea that their off lane could be the playmakers, right? Because when you look at these two top, there is a lot of playmaker potential between the two of them. It's just a matter of whether you get the goal to realize it.
I think he might have had that if he just got the stun off there.
It seemed like he's being a bit greedy. So Blizzy does get away with that. It'll at least stop the salve, but yeah, it's that kill opportunity you're really looking for. And the moment you use the Ink Swell like that, you can already see that Diarara has to back away because he has no way of protecting himself if they go on him.
And this bottom lane now, the meta it has run out, so Terrorblade he could potentially get a little bit pressured here.
It's fine. He can just do it again. I mean, might as well. He's just gonna hit creeps. I don't see how they really get any kill potential in this lane without Omglil either being out of position or a rotation from the mid.
Yeah, no, there shouldn't be many kills happening in this lane. It should kind of just be a lane of pressure. Potentially, there could be some trades when the meta is up if they overextend, but not super likely. The one thing though is that this Terrorblade, even if he doesn't have the best time in the lane here, he is gonna be able to just go on hit jungle creeps at some point. But he is getting pressured now. He's gonna be forced here to leave these. He's at least gonna get XP for the one range creep, but he's getting forced away from creeps here at this point.
It's also the moment when Slayer has to dive away like that. All of a sudden, he has to be defensive for half a minute, which means that you can feel confident as the offlane duo here. I feel like
they're doing a good job here, I think, playing in between here, the creeps.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like a lot of this isn't as much on the Necrophos as it's on the Rubik pick, right? Like, this is why this hero is so popular right now, is it? I don't want to say insta wins you the lane, but it makes the lane almost unlosable.
Yeah, Rubik lanes are generally very difficult to lose. I think actually this is a mistake what they're doing now. Okay, they can farm the small camp, but I think they were adding on a lot of pressure when they were kind of near the Terrorblade. Now, giving him these just last hits for free, I think might prove to be a mistake here. Also, Necrophos taking a lot of damage here in this trade, and I really don't like this.
I mean, Slayer's going to trade effectively with 2 targets because of this. Like, they've just burnt most of their regen. They have still got a salve for Malik, but then when you look at the comparative...
I feel like they took a really winning position right there and kind of just threw it away. Just to try to farm a small camp.
Look at Tiny. Magical's coming in. He decides to check out the tower before arriving at Lil, which means that Lil's going to be able to get away. However, Necrophos, not so lucky because he did use his TP. Looks like Tiny actually has to be careful himself, though. Now,
yeah, I'm not sure about this rotation.
Is it me, or is there a route right here that would have avoided losing half your HP to a tower?
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Do you think he kind of outbrained himself? Like he thought the Necro was running back?
I mean, I'm just kind of thinking, why is he there to begin with?
I mean, that is also true, because now Void Spirit has 6 and Tiny's falling behind.
I mean, I guess he picked up the Bounty Rune and just saw an opportunity to maybe get a kill, and, he's going for it. It's just, in hindsight, it looks a bit silly.
Yeah, he just kind of looks like he picked up a Bounty Rune and thought he was suddenly a dire side hero. It wasn't the cleanest move, shall we say. And things are going to get a little bit more scary, because Sunlight does actually have the bottle complete. Has picked up a rune as well, and you can already see he's starting to move towards the top, where there's, I'd say, some fairly easy pickings for a Void Spirit at this stage in the game.
Yeah, both the Slaughter and the Darkseer are looking kind of juicy right now. And they're gonna guess wrong.
Huh? Lizzie,
Slaughter's,
he's
out.
And look at this. This is what I was talking about. See, they're both pos freeze because Bigdam's now in the lane, just killing creeps. This was the whole plan all along. They're
Ooh, and
communist
this is
laning.
gonna be a Midas Sven here.
Oh,
And there it is.
finally. It comes out. Lil's the one to go down. So Kuman... I mean, we said that we didn't really expect kills here unless maybe some mistakes were made. And you can see how far forward Rubik was by where he died.
Yeah, he was kind of just alone, trying to fight the Kuman Terrorblade.
You can never fight the Kuman terribly.
Nah, you just can't.
So, you know, most TBs are like, oh, there's a lot of pressure in this lane. Level 2, I'll just go jungle because I can. Kuman's like, no, this is my lane. These are my CS. I'm going to keep up with your Sven and then surpass him later on in the game.
Yeah, Kuman is he's the net worth leader right now.
First bloods tend to do that to you. And all of a sudden, this lane might get a little bit scarier for these two. I mean, I think you're kind of okay as long as you stay close to the game. You should be, right? Like, the reason that kill happens is because Malik and Lil are so split in the first place.
Yeah, and I think this is the point where if you're Terrorblade right now, you can just abandon this lane if you want to. You could just go jungle, give the lane to your Phoenix. You're gonna get an early 6 on Phoenix, even if he can't get that many CS up against the Rubik Necro.
Rotation from Magical does connect to the intended target. He's not able to find Dararara. But I think you're right, like, because you get a quick 6 on Slayer in this game. Who's killing the egg on the Omega Lil? As this game scales, like, who is going to be your... I don't worry, guys. I'll deal the egg in the fights. Like, there isn't really anyone.
No one is killing the egg, okay? That egg is gonna stay alive.
Which will be the true Omega Lol moment of this game.
Omega egg moment.
Alright, well, Sunlight. He was patrolling through looking for the TB. I like that he's trying to make these moves because you have to start applying pressure, but Lil is just
Ooh, and a
casually
solo
dying.
kill there.
No,
and
it
Kuman actually
wasn't
gets the
solo.
kill with the
yeah,
illusion.
Exactly, it wasn't solo. Kuman put in a lot of work with that illusion, okay? That's a TB illusion. Even sends it to the lane to try and hit creeps.
Yeah, and this Terrorblade is off to a very good start. So we're gonna see the Midas now on the Sven. It's flying out to him. But this is quite peculiar. I haven't seen that many Svens recently, I think.
I feel like a lot of them are shifting towards the Midas, right? Like it's a good item for the attack speed on this type of hero alone, as you get a lot of damage out of your stats plus god strength. So it kind of fits the hero.
Yeah, the one thing is just it kind of like you want to go late, right? But you're going late. You're trying to go late against this Phoenix Terrorblade Slardar combo, which to me seems kind of scary. I would imagine that the way Omega Lil want to play this is with tempo, fighting early on, you know, taking these small skirmishes when Cyber Legacy spells are on cooldown and just keep forcing fights.
Yeah, I think it's also when you kind of like, you think about the synergy that exists between these heroes on each side. That's right. I met my business word quote for the day. Cyber Legacy have different combos that are very effective, right? The vacuum sets up for multiple things. You've got this egg in conjunction with, like, you want to go attack it, but you don't want to be near the Terrorblade. Whereas when I look at Omega Lil, I mean, there's some cute stuff there, right? Like a double stun, double fade bolt, double scythe. And you're noticing a key kind of recurring word there, right? Double in regards to Soulbind.
Double.
Yeah,
Yes.
So it's all about Soulbind. And, you know, I don't want to be the negative guy who says, I told you so, but I do feel like I end up harping on a lot about how when a draft is very reliant on Grimstroke Soulbind, it tends to fail.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're necessarily, like, or if they have to have things just connect with the Soulbind. Of course, that's a nice addition, you know, the Reaper, like you mentioned, with the Soulbind. I think, though, that they are reliant on fighting early and just on their spells. And here, this is where we see this egg here.
Yep, nothing Malik can do. They just have to run away. There will be no reinforcements coming. And I think that's the thing that I was trying to highlight through it as well, right? Is like, if you look at all this, like, you've got these cute plays around Soulbind. You even reach a point in the game where they kind of curve off, and then all you've got to really pin you up is it's a Sven. Which, you know, if there's any moment in Dota in like the last year where that's enough, this is the patch.
Oh, and we have a stolen egg here from the Rubik. And
Oh.
while while Omega Little can't really kill the egg, I think neither can Cyber Legacy at this point. Terrorblade's attack speed is just not really enough.
They can run away fairly effectively though, right? With the sprint on the Slardar, the surge to get anyone else away. So you have to make sure you got the lockdown to get a good egg off.
Yeah, right. You just want to force a fight around it, kind of. And it looks like we're gonna see I'm assuming this is going to be an Axe Rush on the Void Spirit here.
It's a good
Skipping
game.
the Yules. It's definitely a good game for it. Just curious if you don't go for the Yules there first, and a nice deny there on the tower by Magical. He went for this face. Surprised to see the. Well, it's okay, I suppose, for the mobility, and he's just rushing this Blink Dagger now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he chooses to do after that, whether that's when he decides he needs to go back for right-click items, or if there's some kind of focus on enabling the Terrorblade further instead, whether it's things like 4-star, for example. Kellen with the min-max farming, doesn't need health, he says. Dark Seer is going to be found in the meantime, and Kellen was literally one hit from dying to creeps.
Yep.
All in all, like Omega, they are up in the aggression. And I think the other thing that makes this Ags okay in this game is what we already hit on, which is they have a lot of early magical damage, right? So if you go for something like an Orchid, or
who has a lot of magical damage? The Tiny?
Tiny does, but Omega will do too, right?
Yeah, well,
Let's not count that out.
Yeah, the purple player, he has a lot of that damage.
Well, the purple player, the golden, blue, green player, the Necro does if you're half HP. Like, now I'm putting in conditions. Like, I don't think we should go with the color identification scheme here. It doesn't work too well.
See, I was trying to make a reference to the fact that his nickname is also magical, but I guess it kind of got lost in the somewhere in cyberspace.
Hey, okay, see, I caught that one. All right. This is what happens when you catch me trying to think. I have to commit all of my mind power to one idea, one moment in the game, or it's all lost.
I'll let you get back to focusing on the.
No, don't.
On the
please.
game.
It's bad for everyone's brains when that happens.
Yeah, right now this is kind of a like one of these classic boring games where nothing is really happening, and this is most likely going to continue for another 30 seconds or something, because Tiny now has a Blink Dagger, and
I
think this is go time.
Oh, egg coming out. Malik's like, I don't want to be here anymore. The Remnants try and cover his escape. The defensive egg coming out. I mean, that's one way to use it. It's like, don't you dare come up here and finish my offlaner.
I think the egg was just about to run out.
Yeah.
And they're gonna smoke here under this ward. So Cyber Legacy should be aware of this.
They can hold the
should
high
be
ground.
ready for it.
They got an Arcane Rune on the Tiny as well. So if this fight goes out, like, you think how long this could potentially last. Could kill 2 people. Things coming out. Moving in. Magical comes to say hello. Catches on the 2. Tosses the other target and gets them both low. Able to move away. Rem's going to come out and slide off. He's able to move away quickly. Scythe isn't going to be enough to bring him down. And neither is the fault. Astral Step stun through. They do finally get the kill. The Soulbind's going to be thrown out as well. Now the dive for they're on top of Malik. Toss is going to come out with the Avalanche. It's a 1-for-1 exchange. Megalil definitely using a lot more to get what they got out of that. And Sunlight does yoink the rune. Doesn't have an Astral Step though, so he will also die.
Yeah, Magical making the most there out of this Arcane Rune, and he might not be done here.
He's
Could
got
still find
Blink.
other targets.
This would be blind, but he can kind of guess easier when he surges through like this. And Lil is the target. Like, oh no, Mercy, please, not like this. Tiny coming through. And just in time for a Terrorblade to take the tier 1 tower. Oh, Necro, no. Necro? Necro, no. Avalanche toss. Magical once more. Almost gets Diorara, but Malik is now a little bit too close to the sun. We'll be able to back away from the Phoenix in time. Is it me, or have they kind of TP'd to the mid lane to stare at everything die?
Yeah, I mean, maybe was there some sort of idea that maybe we can try to hold this, but it's just too difficult. And I think this is at this point where, if you're Void Spirit now, you're thinking, like, should I have gone for this Yules first? Am I gonna need this to be able to fight and make plays?
Imagine Void Spirit is a shake right now. This is how, because you have to switch your mentality in this moment, podcast, right? Mm-hmm. You question yourself. You can't do that. You're a professional player. You've got to believe in what you're doing, right? If this was a shaker, his mentality would be like, Yeah, I'm getting dumpstered right now. But when I get that item,
Ah. Just you wait now. You
yeah,
know? Right.
I might be getting the crap kicked out of me now. But when I grow up and I get some muscle and I'm through puberty, you're in trouble. Lizzie,
Is that
TP.
what you? Is that what you said to the other kids back in school?
No, they couldn't really hear me over the sound of their own laughter.
Oh, oh no. I feel like, am I bringing up traumatic childhood experiences?
Oh, you know, only a few. There's room for the day to get worse.
There is a double damage here on the tiny. I thought there was. Yeah, there was. There was a double damage. It just ran
There
out.
was. That's the key word. There
no,
was.
There was.
The good part about word choice is you can like relate it to several minutes ago. For example, you could say
Yes.
there was an arcane rune on the tiny.
There was also at one point.
But yours was more recent. I will give you that.
It was indeed.
So Omglil, just trying to weave around the map, get some pressure done. The problem is the whole while when you're kind of doing this and not connecting with objective, there's Kerman.
There is. I hope you haven't forgotten about good old Kuman.
I haven't forgotten about Magical either, because he just found another one. He's gone fish with the Soulbind. Happy Dara just wants to live. Scythe's going to come down. Egg's going to be used, but they should have enough right clicks between them to bring down the egg and make themselves a little bit of a scrambled egg. They do finally lose Grimstroke, but that should buy enough time that the rest of Omglil can move away, because Kellen is looking very godly right now, and nobody wants to touch him.
Yeah, and a nice fight there by Omglil, managing to take down the tiny.
Alright, that's the moment where you hate your carry. Kuman, he thought about walking back in for, and as a result, he's going to give over his life. No chance for the Sunder because he tried to turn around for the full HP target. Blizzy looks like he will be going down as well as the final right click comes out. And not only that, not only do you take that sort of fight twice, 2 fights to go awkward, you gave him the Philosopher's Stone. You saw that moment. You saw when Kuman was like, do I go pick it up? Is it safe?
No, they did? Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah. Like it's literally on the ground. So Darkseer surged in to try and pick it up. Kuman was casually walking over to it.
Very good.
Oh,
Aye, aye.
good lord.
Yeah, and this is kind of exactly what the Omglil needed at this point. I think if this hadn't happened, I think otherwise we just see Cyber Legacy kind of just continue to slightly push forward with the advantage, and now we see that Kuman is shifting into this BKB here. He was considering his options. He didn't have anything queued up, so he was probably considering, you know, whether to go SNY Manta or whatever, but he chooses to go to BKB after this fight.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand that it should allow him to actually fight pretty effectively. The only problem is you're going for this item, and it's going to be matched by Kellen. And I do have that concern of who's going to do more of their BKB in this fight, because Sven, we kind of mentioned have to be like an item and a half ahead, but at this stage in the game, I don't know if that's the case. I think he's strong enough.
I think it kind of just depends on how the fight goes. Like in this last fight we saw, the Tiny, he made some, there was some sort of wonky initiation, and you know, things didn't really work out the way they hoped, and they lost their Tiny, and then there was not much of a fight after that. So
No, I think the choice of words
Cyber
is
Legacy,
to leave too much.
yeah, if they get kind of the fight that they want, you know, if they get to initiate with this Tiny and having all their team fight around it, then I think the fight can still be scary for Omglil. And the one thing is, the Terrorblades BKB kind of makes it so that it's very difficult for Omglil to play, whereas the Sven, there are still ways for him to die, you know, amplify damage plus a Terrorblade hitting you, you can still definitely die.
And we saw how close it was in the last fight, right? Like, Kuman was halfway through the turnaround in the Sunder animation, ready to switch.
Yeah, I mean, if he switches HP there with that Word Spirit, you know, the fight probably ends up with the Terrorblade getting 2 to 3 kills.
So definitely a fragile line for them. We'll see if they can actually up the pressure on the side of Omglil, considering they now have this Ags on their Void Spirit. So even with TB getting his BKB, nobody else on the side of Cyber Legacy have such a privilege. And a lot of them are reliable on their spells pretty heavily at this stage in the game to just survive.
Yeah, we're gonna see now both the Sven and the Terrorblade, they have their BKBs. There's gonna be an AC queued up by the Sven here to kind of negate some of the damage coming out from both the Terrorblade and the Slaughter amplification.
Meanwhile, you can just see the gank and spank attempts being kind of pointless under sunlight in the top lane, but they're going to actually focus their efforts elsewhere. Maybe an easy target. Malik trying to move away with the Ghost Route, but they can stun him up and hold him there. However, he does sidestep correctly. Another Soulbind coming out, can link two together, but lift back on the Tiny Side's going to go down. Double side will eliminate one. The follow-up is good, and Phoenix is also down the other side. And Kellen, standing his ground with that BKB, will fail against Kuman. The Thunder's going to come out, and all of a sudden, Sunlight has to run away. They're going to throw out the Silence onto the TB, but with the Surge, he's able to get far, far away before anything comes his way.
Yeah, and that was really close. I'm curious if that was the right decision there by Sven to keep hitting this egg. He did manage to bring it down, but he might have just been able to start hitting this TB. The TB was dying kind of fast.
It's always that chaos factor, right? When an egg goes down in a fight, it almost always takes priority. It's kind of like almost one of those unwritten rules, similar to with Roche, right? When the enemy team comes near Roche, you stop doing Roche and deal with them first.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There's gonna be initiation onto the Phoenix. We
Should
just
be an
put it out from
easy
base.
pick. Simulate
Yeah.
is enough.
Easy pickings. And while they did bring down the Sven, they lost 3 heroes and now a 4th. And Omglil are, yeah, they're not in a bad spot in this game. They're up 4k. I would still say that if the game goes later on, I still favor Cyber Legacy quite heavily, just from heroes alone. But Omglil are definitely, they're in it.
No, I can see where you come from, not writing Cyber Legacy out. I mean, after all, it is a Kuman Terrorblade.
It very much is.
And he's still farming pretty well. And that's kind of the nature of TB drafts, right? It eventually does just become all about the one true carry to rule.
Yeah, the one thing about this is, though, that once the Terrorblade's BKB gets lower, when the BKB gets down to 5 seconds, then all of a sudden the game becomes a little bit dicey for him. Then he has to kind of rely on fighting with his teammates more, just because of how many spells, how many stuns, and silences, etc. there are on Omglil.
And you can't look at it as a case of, well, you know, they still have this kind of amplification of damage. They can tank through what Omglil have. Because the itemization choice on Omglil has ensured that in these fights, they'll be similar. Like, they went for the Veil on Malik. And considering there isn't really much room for a lot of these heroes right now in Legacy to get a BKB, these bulky boys are going to melt very fast.
We saw their initiation onto the Necrophos, who manages to survive.
Yeah, he's
thanks
past that
to
awkward
both
point.
the Greaves and the Ghost Shroud.
Yep, that hood advance definitely served him well. And the smoke rotation coming in from Omglil. Trying to find a target here. It's going to be smoke on smoke. It's going to break. Magical. He's going to jump first. They jump back and forth. BKB comes out. Can look to move forward straight away. He's able to bring down Slardar. Tiny's going to die as well. And all of a sudden, it's the Sven show. But the egg, this time he decides not to hit it. He just runs and guns far away. However, they do get the reflection out. He's hitting himself on the head at this point. With the Sunray forward, they're dishing out a lot of damage. Can they do enough? Side's going to come out. TV gets brought down, gets way too greedy. And all of a sudden, this is going the way of Omglil. They'll chase down, find Slayer as well. A lot of heroes dead on the side of Cyber Legacy, and Omglil, they haven't felt the casualties. Kellen's just going to chase forward looking for more. But Bignum's too fast. He does get away. However, once again, Cyber Legacy biting off more than they can chew.
Yeah, and Slaughter now feeling bad about the buyback there. Not really accomplishing a whole lot there. The fight there, yeah, we could see like they managed to get the Soulbind off. There was a Sven stun. There was some
was a
Void Spirit
quadrillion
spells.
things going out with that Soulbind, it felt like.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like they really need these BKBs on both the Slaughter and the Tiny, I think.
But they're not intending it, right? Like, you can already see Blizzy still got the pipe queued up. Of course, that's going to be stunted in terms of growth because he had to do the buyback. The Tiny is going for a BKB, but he can only afford one component. And this is just going to be ample room for Sven to kind of reach that point where it's not as much about the magical damage anymore. It can become the physical.
Yeah, the Sven, he's definitely scaling very well right now. He's getting close to this AC, and these deaths on Terrorblade are hurting him quite a bit in terms of the net worth like progression. Just he's off the map and he's not able to keep hitting creeps. And I think actually, as much as I hate to say it, I think he's playing this maybe not in the smartest of ways. I think he could be more focused on just shoving out these lanes with illusions. And I think they could just overall on Cyber Legacy just have more focus on shoving these lanes just with the Darkseer shells and just Terrorblade illusions, and they don't necessarily have to fight this much.
Do you think maybe they're a bit scared?
I
'Cause
mean, Lil is back from the beach, so
he is, you know, so he's got a fresh tan, all right? He's probably feeling rejuvenated, and he's ready to kill.
and there's gonna be a BKB now, I think, on the Void Spirit. He's queued it up, and he has enough gold for it, so
He's weighing up his
it's
options.
gonna be pretty scary.
He hasn't chosen to buy it straight away. I mean, you can kind of see for Cyber Legacy when they're trying to get on these lanes, trying to shove it. Like, this is always the frustration of the Void Spirit, is he shows up, instantly shoves a wave, especially with the Ags build, and you don't see a kill opportunity when he shows up. He's there for like 5 seconds and gone.
Yeah, and I really like this build here coming out from the Necrophos. He has like the Veil, he's got the Grease, he's going for this Lotus Orb now.
He's
Just
a pseudo tank.
stacking up on the armor and just very, very, very durable build here.
I mean, you kind of have to, you know, frail. Old people tend to be frail. Old dead people, that is.
Yes, that is true. Old dead people tend to be frail, yes.
Just snap like a twig. And this is a Kuman Terrorblade.
It is still a Kuman Terrorblade, so
You can hit. I think you can hit pretty hard if they could actually corrosive haze a target. It just feels like every time. Like, have we actually seen a single fight where 2 targets have been corrosive hazed? I feel like we haven't.
yeah, no, there haven't really been that many fights in this game overall. There's been like, you know, just a couple, and the slaughter has gone down in kind of early in some of them. Now there's gonna be an auto destruction here on Terrorblade, so there's gonna be even more minus armor.
I see. If he can't get corrosive haze, he must become the corrosive haze.
Yes, he's like, Blizzy, bro, you're not doing a good job. I got this.
We'll talk about this later, but for now, I'm gonna do your job. You just focus on stunning people and not dying, preferably.
Yeah, and we do see Blizzy now. He queues up the BKB. He realizes
It's so
he can't
needed.
finish this pipe. No, he definitely needs this BKB, and there's gonna be another smoke here, and yeah,
No
Cyberlex, they're
connect,
gonna
though.
be fine.
Yeah, they get out. They kind of knew it was coming. I think it was kind of broadcast when Sunlight started pursuing from the tower and then held up.
Yeah, and what was Kuman was fortunate enough to find an illusion rune, but this is much more so what I think he should be doing and should have been doing maybe all along. He's now just cutting this wave here in the bottom lane. He has new illusions going flying out to the top lane. He was having one illusion in the mid lane. That's why there's only one range creep, and just kind of just play in the enemy. Kind of in the enemy side of the map, so you can just send these illusions to different lanes and just cut waves. Thus, you make it so that Omglil have to hunt you, and you make the game more difficult for them to play.
I think you have to imagine that if you're TB right now, you're not Terrorblade. You're not the terrifying person. You're a Nog,
No.
kind of. You need to be that annoying person that just rams every lane in the face of their enemies, and thus they can't ever be making plays onto the rest of your team.
Yeah, because the thing is, there's this Necrophos, right? And this Necrophos, while he's very durable, he's extremely immobile. He's one slow boy.
Hold on, dead
Gonna be a
people
road
also
attempt
have that
here.
issue. Yeah, and they're not going to be able to interrupt it in time by the looks of it. Drum should get through quick enough, and Kuman is up in the Metamorphosis, so he's ready if they're going to come in. There's the Aegis, all of a sudden they need to run away. He's trying to hit him up, gets a few hits in with the Skadi to slow them, and he's going to try and force the use of the spells out of Malik. And they'll just back away.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Yeah, you managed to get the Roshan, you got the Aegis. They're not. They could maybe do something with the next meta and the Aegis. The one thing is though, you know, this is a Aegis on a Terrorblade. This is generally not, you know, the most amazing hero to have the Aegis on. If you die with the meta, then you know.
Yeah, it's one of those, you try and actually maybe hold the meta until after you come back to life. That's a dicey way to go about things. Side's going to try and come out, but able to heal up the Sun Ray. Let's Kellen take the damage instead and just backs away on both sides. All the while the mids were just shoving back and forth on the bot lane. No real kills happening anywhere. But this isn't too bad if you're Cyber Legacy, because now with the Metamorphosis ending, considering Omglil made the move at that moment, gives you breathing room, right? There's no risk that Omglil immediately takes that Aegis away from you after Metamorphosis goes on cooldown.
Yeah, they definitely they bought themselves, you know, a little bit of breathing room with the Sven being low. He has to go back to hitting some creep. He's gonna have to, I don't know, either he has to go back to base or send some reach out or something. He is a little bit low. in terms of the HP department there.
Very good.
Yeah, they don't have any life still on their team either.
Looks like Kuman actually is queuing up a Daedalus here. He's just going all out with the damage.
I think he understands he's more or less tanky enough at this stage, right? Like, it's kind of do or die in terms of the fight, so you need to actually be able to bring the Sven down first. Speaking of Sven being brought down low, but the BKB gets him away, and Tiny, are they going to commit hard on him? Blizzy's chasing forward, he's trying to get rid of kill him, but he can't. Nice dash through from Sunlight with the Astral Step to ensure there's no bash coming out. He will get stunned himself, but he should be able to move away. The Echo Save to slow him down, dissimulate over the side, activates the BKB, and will be able to TP away to safety.
Yeah, it was a pretty close call. I think if Blizzy just stuck with it, I think he would have been able to just kill the Void Spirit there, but he went for a different target, and as a result, they don't get anyone.
Instead, everyone just gets away. Sven's able to move back to base alive. Lil's able to escape after yoinking the toss as well because he has the spider legs. And there is a tower you can push in for here. And in fairness, Cyber Legacy are now stationing themselves near your base with Metamorphosis. So positioning-wise, Cyber Legacy not coming out too bad from this.
No, they're most likely going to end up getting this bottom tower here. And after that, I think they're going to wait now for Kuman's Daedalus, I'm assuming. He's roughly, what, 500-600 gold off.
Definitely making the money. And you can already see Sunlight's just moving across the other side of the map to try and shove in those lanes and force them back. That way, Cyber Legacy, they're not in a situation where they can get 2 towers for the price of 1.
Yeah, and while you're up 8k gold on Omglil, that doesn't necessarily reflect the state of this game. I still think that Cyber Legacy are in a very good position.
I feel like
You want to be able to get...
don't know if this is the way to go. It looks like they're going to find Sunlight, but it feels like they're chasing the most impossible kill in the game right now.
Yeah, I think it seems also kind of unnecessary to just keep chasing this Void Spirit. It seems like he's just wasting their time.
And also that leaves you potentially vulnerable elsewhere, right? Like when you show your hand in top lane, maybe there's a move elsewhere. Especially with
So
how
it
many
is going to be
heroes
that
make
Daedalus completed now on Kuman. He trades out the Dragonlance for now.
for now.
I mean, that's where you're like, I mean, I would have much rather seen the Aegis on the Tiny in a game like this, or even the Slaughter. Just the Terrorblade, he needs the slots, and also the Aegis doesn't really do that much. So
It's kind of that awkward issue of like priority targets, right? Like when you look at the way Cyber Legacy's draft functions now at this stage, like this Terrorblade is on an island on his own. If he goes down, the damage is not there to complete the fight. So you can understand why they're feeling defensive. And I guess one thing it does do is it allows him to buy into this Daedalus, right? Instead of worrying about buyback situation, instead of worrying about needing another tanky type IM. Lil should be worried right now. He's going to be brought down. Just the clicks from the illusions, and Kuman himself gets the kill. Malik also needs to be careful. He actually needs to purge off the corrosive haze, and he will do so. But Blizzy jumps in, BKB, stun out, straight away on a Necrophos. He has no way to protect himself. It goes in deep. Helen trying to wail away at it. Will be able to bring it down, but they're ignoring Kuman. They need to actually get on top of the TV and deal with it right now. The Metamorphosis is active before the Aegis is gone, which means if he goes down, he's in a lot of trouble. And the Sunlight, he's trying to fight against this. He actually needs to get out, dissimulate, dash away with the Astral Steps, good enough, and the Aegis does get reclaimed. So Kuman doesn't have to worry about this. He just gets the full heal while the Metamorphosis is still active. And with no Sven, I do believe Cyber Legacy have just found a new home. Malik has got the Scythe. He's holding on to it, but no chance to use it. Cyber Legacy, they're not greedy. They'll back away. They got what they wanted.
yeah, that fight all started with Magical went in and managed to get a toss onto the Rubik, and Lil died there without buyback, and they had to take that fight with one man down, which is very difficult up against this Terrorblade now with so much net worth, and also he had the Aegis. Yes, he didn't use it, so kind of whatever. And finally now we're seeing this. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't opt to go for anything like this earlier on Kuman, like this SNY. I was just surprised that he would that he would forego the status resistance. That's gonna be a Slaughter dead for 125 seconds without a buyback.
Yep.
This
Giant
could
Scythe
potentially
to the
be where
face.
you're, yeah, you could, you know, there's some room for retaliation right now if you're Omglil.
It's a small window, though, because once Kuman's got the Metamorphosis again, you are going to be concerned.
They're gonna lose their top racks here. These creeps and these two catapults are gonna be kind of a nuisance to Omglil.
I guess it's like, oh, it's a range. We don't care too much. But yeah, if you keep letting them pressure, they're going to start eventually hitting onto tier 4s. That's when you start panic running back to your base. You don't want to be in that situation. The problem is with Sven showing here, if you get spotted on the Radiant side of the map, they'll probably jump you, even without the slider. Magical. Uh-oh. Oh, yes. What?
Wow.
Oh, no.
I think it was right past him.
Yeah,
also
he
the wrong
ran
way,
it past
so.
them. And which means it goes longer and it wouldn't hit anyway with the stun. He had a different idea where he thought he was.
Ay, ay, ay.
That's the problem with precasting. Because he probably done the astral step and already had pressed remnant before he arrived, right? Ugh. That's a painful moment. Because that would have been a prime kill. That would have been the gem. And that would have been a tiny on the sideline with no buyback.
Yeah, as well as the slaughter. And now the slaughter, he's going to be back in 45 seconds. Looks
However,
like they're going to make some sort of an attempt here.
Nope. They found the bird. I think that was a bird. It's more like a chick. Kind of got ripped in two. Definitely hasn't matured. As Kellen just proves he's currently free tap, man. I wonder if he'll ever get to 2-tap.
Yeah, he's going to need some big boy items in order to be a 2-tap.
Let's try to make the most of this, though. Oh,
Damn.
they've gone in. Kuman, side, he's gone. 120 seconds dead as well. He does have buyback, and they probably will look to force this out of him because that's a game-losing situation for Cyber Legacy if they're not careful. But maybe.
Yeah, what's unfortunate for Omglil is that they don't have a Vlad, they don't really have an Urn, they don't have any way of getting HP back on the Sven. And now we see the line here drawn by the Sven, by Kellen. He says, guys, just go bottom, I just needed some HP, let's go. We're gonna force this buyback from Terrorblade right now.
And the problem is if you can get it in time. There is potential for Tiny to cut the wave. Like, you can already see Magical setting up. And that's kind of the worry, is that you aren't going to be able to get this prime punishment window onto Cyber Legacy. Like, this 80 seconds will easily pass before you reach their base.
Yeah, and it looks like they're not even
scared.
going for it.
Well, I think they're scared as well, right? Because look at Sven. He doesn't have buyback. So if they all in on that type of play and it backfires, game is done. You're out.
Yeah, at the same time, I feel like when Terrorblade is dead for that long, also when Slaughter was dead for that long, I feel like you should be using those situations. I think they should be used to pressure the enemy further.
Mm-hmm. I think it comes back to, like, what you mentioned in that moment. Like, there's no Vlads, and he hasn't got any, like, mask. Like, there's no way to sustain himself outside the base. Malik doesn't really give up enough healing at this stage for a bulky boy like Sven. Oh, they found Tiny, though. Good target. Magical. We'll just TP away. Good use of the Storm Reflection from Lil to spot him in the first place. So at least force out the BKB, but looks like they're not really getting anything big of value out of this dead TB moment in the game.
No, and this TB is also sitting on 4.3k here. I think if he sells this, I'm assuming he's going to be selling this Dragonlance soon enough and buy a Satanic, then he's going to be sitting at quite a lot of status resistance.
I hope he doesn't subscribe to Medusa weekly and chooses to sell his boots instead. That would be painful. Well, moving in on the Darkseer. Sunray to heal him up, though. They move forward. Sunlight going on a different target here. Trying to do damage to Slayer to force him away. They'll be able to bring down Darkseer, but on the other side of the fight, Blizzy with the BKB chase him forward. But Ghost Scepter will protect IRR. Heals come out from Malik in the meantime. Sunlight is trapped, though. Toss is going to come out, and Kuman gets the kill. Movement in. Slayer does commit the egg. The rest of them need to retreat, which means Malik is going to be left behind. There's no way for him to move away quick enough as the Avalanche does slow him down. The egg will stun him up. The Sunray through with the right clicks ready to come out as soon as his ethereal form ends. Will turn him into an ethereal being for 110 seconds.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure why they didn't decide to pursue further targets there. I think they could have easily gotten a few more, but it looks like they're gonna just settle with those 2 kills, and they're gonna go get the Roche right now. Meta will run out, so they probably won't be... I'm not sure if they're gonna be trying to threaten high ground here. They should know that the Necrophos's buyback is still on cooldown, because it's still 2 minutes.
I think that's why they prioritized him so much in that fight, right? Like you said, they could have caught more, but that's the crucial one. That's like the chink in the armor right now. They're already ready to move forward towards the mid lane. Obviously, no Metamorphosis, but without a Necrophos for 70 seconds, you might end up losing a tier 3 tower.
Yeah, and Terrorblade has... he's been getting like the prime neutral items the entire game. First it's like the Vambrace, the Orb of Destruction, and now the Illusionist Cape. All very good items for Terrorblade.
Alright, so Omglil, they've got to hold out for tier 5 items and hope that Kuman doesn't get the perfect item there as well.
It is gonna be 70 seconds until the meta is ready. But it's gonna be a lot of damage here onto the buildings.
I mean,
They
this
might
is
be able
Phoenix
to-
power. Like, they haven't even put a dent in them. I don't know if they're going to stop him before he gets the meteor active like that. They're trying. They are throwing everything. They're probably... Like, right now, they'd probably just throw cores in to try and convince him not to hit buildings. But Kuman don't care. He has got the Sunder as well. And it's time to stop, though. He needs to move back BKB. He can go for the Sunder out to Kellen, which is going to force him all the way to the fountain, which gives them enough time to get the racks and get away without paying a price.
And I like how he instantly casts Conjure Image there right after the Sunder, so Lil didn't manage to steal that.
No, instead Lil gets to create Lil versions of himself, and I mean, he'll feel cool about it, but yeah, no impact, because obviously if you give Reflection as well, right, like we saw how that's useful when you're trying to scout the split pushes of Cyber Legacies, and instead he gets the worst spell possible.
Yeah, and this game has now become the what show? The Kuman show.
It is definitely becoming a one-man Kuman show. Like, I don't want to underwrite the rest of Cyber Legacy, but right now they are all offering tributes to their lord Kuman, in the hope
Yeah,
that he will
there's
carry
a
them to another
Satanic
season.
now. There's
Dive?
gonna be Satanic. Ooh, Lizzie?
Ooh,
are
I
you
know
doing
what
there,
happened
buddy?
here. It's you know when it's so fun to sliver around the river. 'Cause you
Yeah.
go a million miles. Probably that. I think he was just having some fun. He does fight back though. They look like they want to go for the jugular. They want to end this game right now.
Interesting choice here. I just want to go for it, huh? I feel like I still feel like, you know, like having this Aegis on the Shareblade. Yeah, maybe they're just gonna siege with the Aegis. Maybe that's their idea. He does have now the Satanic as well, so a lot of status resistant this TV now.
Trying
But
to
I'm
slow
just
him
curious. Yeah, if you wouldn't just want another slot.
I love Kuman's dedication here. He's like, oh, Malik's in front of me. Nope, I'm just gonna hit buildings. I don't care what you do to me. I'm gonna just keep clicking it. He's got the Thunder as well, and he can easily get off BKB. Kellen's to fight against Kellen. Kellen has to run away. He can't be forced to use the BKB just yet. He has to wait for a better opportunity, and Kuma's gonna be fine. They don't lose any heroes yet. They did force out the egg, but now what do you do? Because you get stunned up straight away to Malik. He's going to move him with the Ghost Strike. He's trying to get on top of Kuman to do some serious damage, but the Cypher's already been used. The Sun Ray's available again, so TV's not even going to go down. He-Man does arrive as Kellen gets on top, and the Aegis is going to be expended. And they move forward on the Slayer as well, trying to bring him down. The Stance down to him, Sunlight should be able to find him, but Kuman is back in the fight, and Kellen trying to do the best he can. The Stolen Wall isn't going to help enough, though. He's dead. Flies back straight away, ready to fight once more, but without God Strength, maybe not have enough damage to actually follow through. Kuman on the side, just willing away at Malik. Is going to get stunned up in the meantime by the Inkswell. They jump on top, they're going to bring down for the second time. They lift him up, faithful through. Slams him into the ground for 100 seconds, and Omglil hold. Magical's just trying to toss targets away, make room for the rest of his team to move away, because there's no way he's getting out either, as they're going to find the Tiny in the tree line.
Yeah, they did get the melee racks now, so there are only 2 range racks left, but they didn't get the full mega creeps. And on top of that, terribly it died. However,
It was costly.
I'm not sure. It was very costly in terms of buybacks. The Sven had to buy back. I'm not sure who else had to. I think the Grimstroke buy back.
That Sven, by the way, I think he might die to these two. He needs reinforcements right now. Necro does buy back, but he can't get away. The vacuum drags Kellen in, and that might actually just screw them over.
Yeah,
That's why
a
the Speedy
Sven
Boys
dead
left.
for 120 seconds there. What are you doing, buddy?
I mean, you can kind of understand he feels this need to make someone happen, and you kind of at this stage forget that Slardar still dishes out decent damage, right? Because we haven't really seen Blizzy as a damage factor in these engagements for the last like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, but with the amplified damage, he can definitely
Definitely.
put in some work. And
I
now
mean,
also he has the Princess Knife.
Well, he was using it pretty effectively in the last fight. I mean, the thing to notice here, right, is that Corrosive Haze brings Sven down to 0 armor.
Right, yeah, and on top, yeah, with the -4 Corrosive Haze armor talent there. And he's also about to hit this 25 where you get this undispellable Corrosive Haze if you want to go.
Which, you know, is painful, especially for the Sven, considering he took the Dispel Storm. Oh, wait, no, it dispels enemies, actually, yeah. So, still, I think, yeah, I always get it mixed up. Because, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if you could just stun in and insta-purge yourself? Like a Huskar, basically. I see what you've done there, Ice-Frog. I imagine there was a version where you could dispel himself, and I was like, well, this seems kind of ridiculous.
Kuman did decide to go for this extra attack range on the meta. So
I mean, that's like 2 extra attacks before they get out. I think that's enough to kill them all. Knock, knock. We're here, trying to clear the illusions quickly. Sunlight has to assimilate. Look, stand on top and fight. He wanted to throw out a stun, but it's not going to be good enough. He has to back away, which means Mount's going to be left behind. And they're moving in on top of him. They're ready to stun him up. The Cypher's going to come out. It's not enough damage on the Kuman, though. And all of a sudden, while Mount does move fast, they have to smoke just to keep him alive. Moving in again by Sunlight. Activates the BKB, looking to move away. But the slows from the Sky, he might kill him off. Surge will get him out, though. Good steal from Lil to save the day for 2 heroes on his side. The problem is nobody's saving your buildings right now. And Kuman ain't leaving with anything less than mega creeps. Stun in, Kellen on top of him. They're going to surge forward, trying to chase and stay with him with the BKB and the Inkswell. Will be able to stun him up. He has got the Thunder to work with, so they need to be careful about this. The swap's going to come out onto the illusion, so he's able to turn and fight, and Kellen's going to be brought down instead. The egg does go off, and all of a sudden, Omega Lil, they're out of heroes. GG gets called, and finally, Cyber Legacy are able to close game 1. Once again, another example where it really was the Kuman show.
You just can't give Kuman Terrorblade.
We see this about so many heroes, Pycat. You can't